I'm loving it right now. I love doing this right now. I'm happy that I'm not happy that I'm not with those guys, but I'm just happy that I'm doing on the stage out there. I'm happy that I'm with these guys. So I like this right now. I'm enjoying myself. The status of No Use for Name is fine. We're gonna make another record and go on tour.
Uh-oh. Well, I do like doing this a lot. I especially like, as I said before, I really like the idea that I don't have to go on tour with the same people I've gone on tour with for 20 years. You know, I can go on tour with just about anybody that's doing this kind of thing. That's a really cool thing. I mean, there's a lot. I think of music. I never really had a gang mentality about music. I never really understood the bands that have that. I understand family, and I totally get it, and I will back my family. But at the same time, music kind of transcends that for me. So I always thought of it. There's something a little bit weird about all those years that you're in a band, and you're sort of not allowed to do other things. That doesn't make any sense because it's art. It's art at the end of the day. You should be able to play with everybody. And bands generally have that kind of mentality where like, no, this is the band you're in. It's a gang. There's things to be said for that, but it shouldn't stop people from experimenting and playing music with other people. So what I love most about doing this is being able to do things with other people. It's just a cool thing, you know? It's really cool. And it's closer to what music, in my mind, should be about. That said, I've been doing this for about a year and a half now, and I'm starting to get a little bored. And I miss playing with my band. But my band isn't.
I'm only 5 shows in with you. You're really bored already?
No, but I started doing this in December 2008.
So I'm not a breath of fresh air?
No, you're a breath of... No, it changes all the time. And doing this with Tony's great. This tour is great. But if it didn't change every tour, I think I'm definitely kind of interested in playing with a band again.
You got a piano player out here with us and everything?
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm not saying anything bad. It's awesome. You guys rule. I'm itching a little bit for some hardcore. You know what I mean? I'm itching a little bit for some
metal
fast
band.
music.
You should start like a brand new metal band.
Metal would be fucking great right now. You know what I mean? I'd like to hear some electric guitar. I'm doing a tour with this band that I had called Bad Astronaut pretty soon, and I think that's going to be really neat for me. And Lagwagon might do a co-headlining tour in July in Europe with No Use. And my band is not in good condition at all, so we'll see if we can manage.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for a bass player.
We're going to try to get them to go on tour or do a tour in August, so hopefully that happens.
We don't have a bass player.
We share a guitar player.
We only had one bass player the entire career of the band, and so I didn't really want to do the band anymore if he couldn't do it, because there's where family counts. You know what I mean? It's a fucked up thing. Play with somebody for like 22 years and then like not be playing, you know, whatever. So we have to figure that out really fast when I get home, and I think it's
like tonight.
Yeah, we sort of talked about something tonight, believe it or not, but I really want to do shows with Lagwagon, but it's like, you know, our drummer is playing with Hot Water Music now. Our guitar player is in his band, No Use for a Name. Our bass player quit, you know, and I'm running around the world acting like Napoleon. So it's, you know, we'll see.
I'd say it's going really well. Really, really well. I think, you know, there's been a lot of people at the shows, and I just think it's a cool thing to see, I guess. I mean, we put out that split in 2004, and every time I came to Europe with No Use over the last 6 years, people have asked me, when are you going to, you know, tour over here with Joey and do an acoustic tour? And I never, at first I was just like, God, that would be so weird, you know, why would I tour acoustically? Why would I? And, you know, I never really entered my mind until a couple years ago, and then it just kind of, everything just kind of like lined up really perfectly. I had a new record coming out. Joey was doing this tour anyway, and he gave me a call, and there you go.
Yeah, I think it's going well too. It's been really cool touring with Tony. Just, it's nice to finally be able to do those songs, some of them live, and And plus, I always liked Tony a lot. I always thought he was totally cool guy. I know, I just feel weird when I'm like holding a mic and talking. Like, I don't know, it's a strange feeling for me. You'd think I'd be used to a microphone by now, but I'm not. Yeah, no, I always liked Tony. I always thought he was a cool guy. But, you know, when you're in bands, it's rarely like, we've toured with No Use before, but this is totally different. It's me and him and a couple other good friends in a van, you know. It's a family made up of other people from other families, but these are my favorite people from those families. So outside of the shows, it's great. And then the shows are really, really fun because we all play together, you know. I would use the word legendary instead of influential. No, I'm just kidding. I can take that one for at least part of it.
Yeah, take it.
I think for me, I've always written on an acoustic guitar. This thing seems in reverse to me, backwards, you know. I always loved punk rock growing up, you know, or at least when punk rock came around. I loved it immediately, but I think that before punk existed, my folks were, you know, I'm an old man. And before punk existed, I mean, I was hearing folk music growing up, you know. My parents listened to Dylan and Woody Guthrie and kinds of things, and then there was Simon and Garfunkel, and then there's always been the bands like the Beatles, and I've always been a great appreciator of songwriting and acoustic stuff in particular. So for me, I wrote every song I ever wrote on an acoustic guitar, so it's not a new thing, but it just appears that way to people that don't know us. So it's kind of funny because I answer that question a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think our answers are pretty much similar to that. Kind of starting to melt together at this point because we've been doing these interviews, you know, and it's just like I think the same thing. It's like my childhood growing up and all the songs that I wrote for No Use for a Name on acoustic guitar. It's just sort of like going back instead of going forward. It's like a step backwards instead of a step forward.
It's kind of like
it's regression.
And on the other hand, it's sort of like a graveyard.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's sort of like a retirement plan, but it's also kind of like the graveyard for musicians that are old.
That's another thing. Is seriously honest. My band, the drummer of my band, Roy, he started a snow removal business up in Tahoe, and he said that he doesn't want to tour during the winter much anymore. And so I thought, God, I can't take like 4 or 5 months off a year right in a row. And so I started thinking a couple years ago when he came up with this, I need like a plan B, you know, like something else to do in my life, maybe my career. And I couldn't really find anything other than music. So, you know, my plan A became my plan B. So.
As I think about